For more reaction to the firing of the TDSB's Director of Education, we're joined live in studio by Adil Shamji, Liberal MPP for Don Valley East West. Thank you very much for joining us. There's been a lot that has been happening. Let's start with the latest developments with this announcement.
Look, there are 4,800 schools across our province, over 2 million students, but we have a government that is dead set on running our education system like a one-man show from an office at Queen's Park. We have now reached the stage in our education system where we have decisions that are, where we have people with no discernible background in education who are terminating a TDSB director who has decades of experience. We should be focused on the things that matter to students, parents, and teachers. We should be talking and listening to them. Instead, we've got a government that's just pointing the blame and ignoring the fact that over the last 8 years, class sizes have soared, special education has been starved, and we have a mental health crisis of epic proportions.
Okay, so you touched on it a little bit right there. How would you describe the state of the education system up until recently?
Well, what we've seen over the last 8 years is that class sizes have gone up. Students are struggling. We've got student-teacher ratios that aren't matching up to the standards that we expect. EQAO results just came out and gave a failing report card on the government's performance of our education system. What we need to be looking at is restoring the underfunding that is taking place in our education system. We've got about a $1,500 per student deficit in funding that needs to be restored. Things like that should be the focus of how we fix our schools and our classroom sizes, instead of just sowing chaos and instability by terminating a TDSB director.
I want to ask you something about Minister Calandra's statement, refocusing on student achievement. What does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, it sounds like Paul Calandra has been doing a little bit of introspection and has realized that the work that his government has done over the last 8 years hasn't been living up to the expectations of parents and teachers and students. The difference, however, is that he's keen to say that the challenges we face in our education system are the cause of someone else, when it really is because his government and his leadership has led to dramatic underfunding of our class sizes, of our education system, and class sizes that have grown far too large.
So let's talk about your riding, Don Valley East.
Yeah.
What have you heard from not only parents, but teachers, principals?
I'll go one further. I'll tell you what I'm hearing from students. Students are telling me that their class sizes are too large, that sometimes they're not even proud going to their schools because they're in such a dramatic state of disrepair. On top of that, people are struggling with chaos, instability. Recently, schools have been forced to make very difficult decisions. In my riding, pools are now being shut down because that very vital part of a student's education can no longer be funded. And so these are the very difficult decisions that schools are facing, that students are literally telling us they're not proud to go to school anymore. And what they're asking for is a ministry and a government that will have their backs, that will give them the funding that they need to make sure that schools are safe, that education is restored to its former glory, and that we can get the proper return on investment. We know that there's at least a 30% return on investment for every dollar that you put into education. If we want to grow the next generation of leaders in our province, that means investing the money now, not going in, sowing instability and chaos, and just throwing the baby out with the bathwater, especially when the decisions are being made by people who have no discernible background in education.
What does it mean to be a student today?
Well, it means wanting to go to school and putting your best foot forward, but having to contend with classes that are too large, maybe not being able to get enough attention from your teacher because your teacher is having to do too much, having to also support students with special needs. It means going to school in buildings that may not be up to building code, that may not be up to accessibility standards, that may not be up to the safety standards in case there's a fire or something like that. And so, I'll give you this other example. In my riding of Don Valley East, we were prioritized by the Toronto District School Board as being the #1 site of having a new school. And time again at Don Mills and Eglinton, we've been passed over because the government will not give us the funding to bring in the schools that will allow us to bring class sizes down, and restore the proper education that our students deserve.
Adil Shamji, Liberal MPP for Don Valley East. Hey, thank you very much.
Always
really
my
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
a
you,
lot.
Bakari.